your team been doing in practice since the last game?
Some days pretty good, and other days not so good. We haven't been as consistent as what we need to be. Some days you see some bright spots, and on other days you don't.
The big thing you seemed frustrated with more than anything after the game was effort, it seemed like. Have you spent most of the last week focused on just improving that area, or has it been a lot of X's and O's on top of that?
We have a tendency to watch, instead of playing. So we get beat the balls because we don't react, we just watch. And we've been trying to work on that. We've been trying to figure out a way how to do a better job guarding. I think the hard thing about running motion is, and we'll be a whole lot better at the end of the year, obviously, because we'll have more guys that will learn how to pass the ball. But when you're putting the ball in everybody's hands, particularly when you play as many people as we've played, you got a lot of people that you're depending on to make decisions. And that didn't work out very well for us. So we're gonna attempt to fix that. Put guys more in positions where they're going to be successful, and at the same time continue to work on making those other guys better decision makers.
Bob, is any of this surprising to you? Especially the performance in Spokane and the way things have gone. Did this kind of catch you off guard? Expect more?
Well, I thought we'd be better. I mean, I thought our returning guys would do a better job. But Dave, the honest God's truth is we started 3 of them who hadn't played. Even though one he practiced every day, Eric didn't. I mean, I told you that guy's after the beginning. He broke his hand and he practiced really very little last year. And Matt obviously didn't practice at all.
Did you see anything you liked at Gonzaga?
Their student section, I thought was pretty good. But other than that, no. It was a great student section. We just didn't, we don't rebound the ball the way we need to. We're counting on Dennis to be more consistent, and obviously he wasn't consistent that day. When you got a 4-year guy that you think can do some things, you have expectations. We've got to get him to be more consistent. What's happened over the years is those guys have been. When you go back and we lose Joe and everybody said, oh my God, what are we going to do? And then Deshaun stepped up, and after Day, KJ stepped up, and now we need another guy who's a 4-year guy who's been in the program really to step up.
Bob, some of the things as far as being competitive and getting to the ball and certainly passing it, I would imagine is backcourt stuff, guards and
not necessarily, Mike, because because of the way we play, everybody has it. You know what I mean? Keaton Miles and Aaron Brown and Dennis and Eric Murray, they're going to have pretty much the same opportunity as those other guys. Now in transition, they better not have.
Right.
But I mean, the truth of the matter is, we never really got in transition. When you never stop anybody, it's hard to run.
But for Humphrey and Jawan, I know they haven't played a whole lot, but they'll certainly be when they get in, as far as what you're talking about there, they can, once they get comfortable, they can ideally fix a lot of that, or at least get it closer to where you want it.
Well, I mean, obviously we're going to have to keep the ball in Jawan's hands more, and let him make more decisions than what those other guys are making. We're going to have to be a little bit more bit more selective as to who makes decisions. And in all honesty, I mean, we think we're better than what we are, you know, individually. You know, we got guys that are trying to make plays that can't make them, that really can help us, but not in that regard. And I think it's a matter of really defining roles. And we really, up to that point, probably didn't do a good enough job of putting 7 or 8 guys together, because we really plan on playing a lot of them and playing, you know, trying to wear people down. We obviously didn't wear anybody down.
In terms of
Sorry.
That's okay. In terms of the passing ball, I know you were critical of Dennis to an extent, and you also said that the guys didn't look at him enough in the game in Spokane. Have you seen them looking more inside in practice lately, and you expect them obviously to find him a little more?
Well, it's twofold. I mean, Dennis has to present himself a little bit better, and then he's going to have to catch some balls that aren't perfect balls, you know. And then we're going to have to do a better job looking for him. Yeah, I mean, it is twofold, but we'll get him to look in there, but Dennis is going to have to catch some balls that aren't perfectly thrown to.
Coach, correct me if I'm wrong, but from what you said about maybe needing to have the ball in Juwan's hands a little bit more and take some of the decision making away from other people, are you going to have to play a slightly different style offensively, at least at first this season, before you get some of those guys more comfortable running motion, making decisions, better passers?
We got to run motion. If you know, over the years, what I found out is and we did get away from it for a while, and what you find is that when you only have a few decision makers, and particularly at the end of games, when they take those away and you throw them to guys who've never had to make a decision, and it just kind of stands out like a sore thumb at the end of the game when they hand the ball to people or throw it to them, and you know, and you say, wow, you know, what are they doing? Well, they haven't had to do that before. So it's kind of a two-edged sword. You got to figure out a way to win early, you know, because the body of work, as they say, and you have to find a way to continue to get better, and you have to continue to get those other guys better, so that, you know, you think about in 2010, pressure didn't bother us. I mean, we played against the best pressure team in America, Missouri, and they quit pressing us. But because we had so many guys who could make decisions with the ball. Wellington Smith was, I guess, technically our center, but you could throw him the ball and he could make a decision, because for 3 years he'd had to make decisions. And so at the end of the day, it makes you better. But if you don't win enough at the end of the day, there's nothing to look forward to. You know, you still got to win.
Anything else? What about Marist? What do you see from Marist?
They play hard, try to spread you. I mean, they're like everybody else. When they make shots, you know, they're very dangerous. When the shots don't go in, they struggle. I mean, it's they're considerably smaller than we are, so they're going to try to really spread us and shoot the 3 ball a lot and try to back cut you and spread you. So pretty much, you know, what we're kind of used to seeing. You know, it's a heck of a field. Oklahoma's playing extremely well. Gonzaga obviously is playing extremely well. Davidson's playing well. It's a tough field. We're going to have to play a whole lot better than what we did.
Bob, in regard to making shots, you have a bunch of guys who you mentioned before they could do it, and I know it's a small sample with exhibition. The first game, probably not what you want, but you always talk about identifying who can do what. how long do you let that go before you tell a guy don't do it, or before you figure out who can and who can't?
Well, Mike, I don't think it's a matter of saying don't do it. I think it's a matter of when you do it. You know, you go back to John Flowers, and John Flowers, even early on, I remember John Flowers hit a huge 3 at Ole Miss to win the game, but it was at the end of the clock. And you know, the thing we always knew about John was they were always going to leave him open, so we didn't really worry about running the clock down because John was always going to be open. And we told John, at the end of the clock, step into it and make it. You're going to have plenty of time. And as John continued to get better, you know, he didn't have to, you know, we didn't kind of demand that he went deep into the clock before he shot the ball. And it's not that they can't make them, it's, you know, but they don't need to create them. And you know, the truth of the matter is it's hard for our bigs to rebound the ball when you never know when somebody's going to burp it up. And so we got some guys that really need to kind of limit their shot making exploits to the end of the clock. And then we all know they're going to shoot it, and we all can rebound the ball. Life will be a lot better. It's just, Mike, you know, it's hard sometimes to make 20-year-old guys understand you don't have to score 20 points a game to be a good player. You know, they get all wrapped up in, well, I got to score points. And when the reality is they really don't have to score points, or they can score points in a variety of ways. You can score points off your defense, you can score points rebounding the ball, you can score points just on movement, and then you can make some shots at the end of the clock. But you can always guard, you can always rebound, you can always do those little things that make your team better. And that's kind of what we're missing. We got too many guys that think they're the guys that are supposed to take the shots. I mean, I don't think we have anybody that doesn't think that, quite honestly. We got to get some guys that do the other things.
Anything else? Thank you, Coach.